up, queens? Welcome to the Female Dating Strategy Podcast, the meanest female-only podcast on the internet. I'm Ro.
And I'm Savannah. And this week, by semi-popular demand, we will be reviewing Prince Harry's book, Spare. Because it's been actually 6 months since
Which I haven't read, so this is more like a recap for me. So
well, it's not really a recap, it's more like a...
Let me know all the highlights, because I wasn't going to bother, because quite frankly, with Harry, it's like, I don't care, right? We don't have a monarchy. The only reason I sort of care about this entire fiasco is because I did not like the way they treated Meghan Markle. I feel bad for Harry because he comes from a toxic family, but... Like, I don't think anybody over here would care about this book if it wasn't for Meghan Markle.
That's fair, 100%. And because I've read the book, I managed to get myself a bootleg copy because as much as Harry says the right things, but he's still from that family and I'm not lining their pockets even more. And I was quite underwhelmed. I think the first thing that stood out to me was that it was really, really badly written. And I know Prince Harry didn't write it himself. He got a ghostwriter like most celebrities do. But the way it was written, it just wasn't... I mean, you wouldn't think it was of a publishing standard. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel like this whole... Clearly the publishers, and they were right on this one, it was just a cash grab for them.
You think so? I mean, they act like they're poor and they need a lot of attention. I don't think... I mean, I know that the royal families cut them off to a certain extent, but... Meghan Markle had plenty of money from Suits, and I don't know. I imagine Harry had an inheritance, so whatever. I mean, they're just like continuously trying to create media, I think, to build a media brand. And to be fair, it is popular. I mean, wasn't it on the bestsellers list when it came out?
Yeah, it sold really well.
So, I mean, despite what we say, people are interested.
Yeah, obviously controversy sells, but when I say it was like a cash grab, I'm not really just talking about, for Meghan and Harry. I also mean for the publishers as well. Like, they knew what they were doing. They promoted it very well with the documentary on Netflix was the gateway to the promotion, and then Prince Harry's interviews where he wasn't really revealing a lot. To be fair, like, this is where I found the book was underwhelming because I thought he could have really, really, like, spilled some more tea. But I understand why he didn't. He probably didn't for various reasons. But yeah, that was just one of the things that jumped out to me. And even, like, the way they formatted, like, text conversations. So Harry shares quite personal, clearly, I guess, text messages from him between himself and the main characters, such as William and Kate and his dad. And even the way it's formatted in the book, it's really hard to read. Like, they don't use speech marks when they're using, when they're talking about text messages. It's just little stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? It just made it quite difficult to follow sometimes.
So he just like didn't get a good editor on his book. And it's just a stream of consciousness of all the things that he feels he suffered in his life.
Yes.
Sounds boring.
Yes.
Sounds boring.
But the worst part is like, he got a professional writer to write the book. He didn't write it himself. So it's like, why is it so bad? So yeah, that was one thing.
Because there's nothing compelling about him other than his like royal status, right? Like, he hasn't really done anything worthy of people's attention. And in the influencer space, everyone's fighting for attention. And even a royal can't necessarily capture it just by virtue of his birthright, right? Like, I feel like to me, when I look at him, like, he's like the Paris Hilton of Britons. He's like the Paris Hilton of the Brits, right? Like, he happened to be born fabulously wealthy to a famous family, and he's got connections to other famous people, but I don't know why I care about him. He's not even hot anymore. He used to be kind of cute when he was younger, and he just... I don't know. I mean, he looks better than the rest of the family, but that's not saying much, and that's not difficult.
I mean, the bar's in... Well, yeah, exactly. But no, I think, and like, Harry's aware of that as well. Like, he talks about that quite... By the way, it's a massive spoiler alert. So if you want to be surprised by the book, which I don't think you will be, you might want to skip this episode. Sorry, I should have put that at the top. But Harry talks a lot about what Ro just touched on, about being the royal that had no direction, because he was born as the spare to William. And when it became apparent that William was likely to get married and have his own children, then Harry's role as the spare became very redundant. So he talks about when he was about 18, 19, he literally sat down with his dad to talk about, okay, what can I do? Like, he wanted to be a fucking ski instructor. And obviously Charles was like, absolutely not. So that was why he sort of ended up in the army, where that gave him something to do for a couple of years. And then he went to Africa, and then he started the Invictus Games. So throughout the book, you see sort of what Ro is saying, in that he doesn't really have any direction. He's often aware that his intellect isn't great. So the press would often refer to him as the stupid one. I think even in his family, he was sort of known as the dunce. So
he knows he...
Well, yeah, Harry knows he ain't shit, basically.
He knows he's dumb? Oh, man. See, now I feel a little bit bad. There's something like, almost sad about a person who's like self-aware about being stupid, because you're like, you want to be like, no, you're not dumb. You know, like,
I mean, when I say dumb, when I say dumb, though, I mean, like, he knows he's not
just mentally different.
But like, when I say dumb, I think he knows that he doesn't have a natural talent for anything. I guess, when you're a royal, family member, you don't have to have a natural talent for everything, because by virtue of your birthright, you will, that will open doors for you. So he went to places like Eton College, where it's highly selective usually, but I mean, it's basically rich kid central. But generally speaking, if you don't come from that background, it's a highly selective school to get into. And he just got in, did very, very average in high school, to the point where there was a story that he got one of his art teachers to do his exam for him. And he was really stung by that, because it was like, no, I did the work and all that jazz. So yeah, I think Harry is well aware of his position within the family, and also within the wider world as well, is that he doesn't have a talent, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's not...
You're just around. He's like the ultimate Nepo baby. There's no other... Is there a bigger Nepo baby than a royal family member? I think that's pinnacle Nepo baby.
But he's not even a Nepo baby, because... He's not even really a Nepo baby, though, because he's not really obtained... Well, I guess he's obtained something, but in terms of like...
Yeah, what does he do? He's kind of in Hollywood right now, or like not even really Hollywood. Maybe Hollywood adjacent, because he's with Tyler Perry, who actually I think is based out of Atlanta. But I mean, he's not exactly like ingratiated himself to any industries over here in the States either.
Yeah, he's still not doing a lot, really. Like, yes, exactly.
He's just some guy.
Exactly. So it's just, so yeah, he seems very, very aware of that. So, and this is almost like self-aware. Like, guys know when they ain't shit as well. Like, lots of women, need to recognize that guys understand that they often like beneath your level. This was sort of why, like, in the documentary, Ro, when his friends were talking about, wow, how did you get Meghan? I understand why they were asking that. Even his friends,
a whole dummy.
Even his friends, though, like, this guy is a bit like, I mean, it's a bit of a non-starter, really.
Like, he's our boy and all, but he's stupid as hell. Oh my God.
Okay, I agree with the stupid, as I'll come on to that, actually. I'm not even going to defend that. So the book starts, obviously, with the death of his mother and how Charles comes and tells him, and it seems like Charles didn't do it in the most emotionally sensitive way. Like, he wasn't given a hug or anything like that, and he was very much expected to just carry on with it. And you can see the pinnacle of that is at Diana's funeral, when William, Prince Philip and Prince Charles are walking behind Diana's coffin, a experience that both William and Harry have said really, really traumatized the pair of them. So, and that's a common theme, and I just get the impression, I sort of look at his relationship with Meghan in quite a different way now, because whilst I do believe their love is genuine, but I also feel like Harry was searching for his mum, and he's found another Diana, so to speak, in the form of Meghan. I definitely feel like a big part of his attraction to Meghan was the similarities between her and Diana, or perceived similarities.
It's interesting too, because I feel like I picked up on that in some of the narratives that they were running when they were doing interviews about how being under the paparazzi scrutiny was affecting her. And then Harry suddenly like getting to be the hero in the situation. And I was like, oh, this is like really emotional for him, right? Yeah. It's like he gets to kind of redo the past and be the hero that he felt that someone should have stepped in for his mom.
Yes. Yeah. And he makes lots of references to his mom throughout. Some I think are borderline inappropriate. Like, there was one section where he was talking about how he got like frostbite on his dick, and he was then spoke about in the next sentence, like, he used like this cream that smelled like his mum's Elizabeth Arden cream. And
Gross.
I'm like, what the fuck?
Holy Oedipus complex, Batman.
I might have scrambled that a bit, but I remember thinking, like, if I had like a UTI, I wouldn't think of like a cream that my dad used at some point when I was recounting the tale of treating said UTI. It's very strange, isn't it? Very, very bizarre. And he's emotionally stuck there. I feel bad. You know, it sounds like a very traumatized kid who's emotionally stuck at an age where he was happy. You know what I mean? Yeah, when he had, I definitely get that sense. Like, it's almost like his, you know, life ended on the 31st of August, 1997, the day Diana passed away. I genuinely get, and also it does make sense though, because I don't think he was ever really allowed to grieve and to properly mourn her. Because especially the public, especially the way Diana passed away and the way that she was mourned, it was deeply traumatic, to the point where he even goes back to the tunnel where she died and asks his driver to take him through it. And even his bodyguards were like, I don't really want to have to do this, but he ordered them to do it, like the brat he is. And they did it anyway. And it didn't make him feel better. Who would have thought that? But yeah, it's just little stuff like that. I think he's still deeply, deeply affected by his mum. It is really, really sad, because like losing a parent at such a young age in such a public way would be deeply traumatic for anyone, I think. Especially seeing as Diana used to say that she always made a conscious effort to treat Harry, I mean, not better than William, but to treat him like he was important, because she understood that, you know, William is going to be one day the star of the show and Harry's going to fade into the background. And that always happens with the spares in any royal family. So with Queen Elizabeth, you had Princess Margaret, who sort of almost like she basically went off the rails a bit, didn't really have much direction, was just known for having affairs and doing drugs and, you know, stuff like that. You know, you sort of see parallels between Princess Margaret and Prince Harry. Once their use as the spare is expired, they don't really have anything else to do. So then you get on to Harry's wild child, in quotation marks, phase, where he admits to using drugs, talks about losing his virginity in a field. I just thought it was just the way that was written about, not to sound like a prude, but it was quite tacky how he wrote about it, to be honest. And she was like, she rode me like a stallion. And I'm like, oh my God, gross.
Rolls eyes to back of head. What? Rolls eyes to the back of my head, all the way through my throat.
Do you know, it's like, why is it always these basic looking dudes who have talked the most about their sex lives? Why can't it be somebody like...
Right, rode me like a stallion. He doesn't look like he has stallion dick. Sorry to, just like project. There's just nothing about him that makes me feel like, oh yeah, he has big dick energy.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Do you know what I mean?
You never know, but he looks like a stallion. Someone thinks much of himself. Every guy fancies himself a stallion. Like, let's be clear, some of you guys are pygmy donkeys. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I agree. Like, I just don't look at Prince Harry and think, yeah, I want me some of that. So it was like, again,
some of you are Eeyores.
Exactly. So yeah, that was a bit weird. And then he also, and this is where I think Harry is stupid, right? This is where it gets into stupidity phase. So, you know that incident where he was caught wearing the Nazi uniform? In the book, he basically pins that on William and Kate, basically saying they told him it was a good idea. And I'm sitting there thinking, but you were 20 years old. Like, on what planet do you think that wearing a Nazi uniform would ever be socially acceptable? Number one. And then he also, I'm not sure if you saw this, but he was in a hotel room, I think it was in New York, with these strangers, and they played like strip poker or something, and then the pictures got out and he was surprised and upset at that. And I'm just like, mate, like, you're a Prince of England. Like, if you're doing something dumb like getting naked with a room full of people you don't know, it's not right, but surely you would expect that is going to get out to the press, because that's tabloid fodder. Like, and he just seemed really like surprised, like almost like, why me? How could this happen? I'm shocked. I'm like, really, dude? Really?
He still doesn't understand that he's famous. Like, he's like really? Confused by it. Harry, you're a Prince of England. People pay attention to what you do.
And this was like after like a decade of the press just giving him hell. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, so it was just a bit like set 8 here. And then with the William and Kate, the Nazi uniform, I'm like, okay, yeah, even if they told you to do that, let's assume that that's true. But surely you should know better at 20 years old that you don't wear Nazi uniforms. Like, even school kids know not to do the Nazi salute. Like, 11-year-olds know not to do it.
I can remember when I was younger, we would watch a lot of public access television because we didn't have cable. And I watched a lot of like these old black and white films, and like the Three Stooges used to do a lot of Nazi bits. And so I didn't know anything about World War II, and I was just trying to be fine. I thought it was funny. I didn't know anything about World War II. So like I was just imitating like these old movies I would see on TV. And then I just did like the Heil Hitler song. I was like, salute one time. I mean, I must have been really young, like maybe 6 or 7. And I saw it on TV. My mom looked at me like she wanted to snatch my throat through my body. Like she was like, don't you ever do that again. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, what? What did I do? I saw it on TV. I was trying to be funny. And she was like, Hitler was a horrible man. But again, single digit age, not a grown ass man like Harry. Continue. The juiciest, most fucked up things. Is it just me or Harry's eyes too close together to be handsome? Anyways, I just wanted to, I don't know why I said that. I just felt like it.
So I'm going to share some of the juiciest tea from the book. The first one, and perhaps one of the most like fucked up claims that Harry makes, is that Charles joked about not being his real dad. Obviously, there's this ongoing controversy, speculation that Harry's real dad is Major James Hewitt because they look similar. That Princess Diana swore up and down that they started their affair. So Diana had an affair with James Hewitt for 5 years, and she's adamant that it started after Harry was born. But Harry tells a story of when Charles basically joked that he might not be his real dad. And obviously, Harry was quite destroyed by that. I'm not even sure in what universe that sort of joke is appropriate. But yeah, I kind of felt bad for him, to be fair, because he was really hurt by that. So that was one. The second one was that Charles was it seemed like he did the bait and switch with his sons about his relationship with Camilla. So they were happy for them. So William and Harry were happy for him to date Camilla, but they weren't happy for him to marry her. And they begged him not to marry Camilla. And obviously he did anyway.
Why?
And now she's the Queen of England.
Why didn't they want Charles to marry Camilla?
I guess because of the stuff. I mean, I guess if you look at the relationship dynamics, like Camilla and Charles had an affair whilst Charles was still married to their mum.
I see. They didn't want the side chick to become the main chick.
Yeah, and it's going to pose all sorts of issues, I think. So this is going back to like technical royalty stuff. But if Charles dies before Camilla, which statistically likely, she will technically become Queen Dowager, right? So that basically means like Dowager Queen is the widow of a deceased monarch. Dowager King or Dowager Queen. No, Dowager Queen. There's not usually a Dowager King. And that begs the question of what is William going to do with that? Because William could technically strip her of that title when he becomes king. And it just seems like the pair of them, like William and Harry, aren't too keen on Camilla generally. So that's going to be something. But of course, like men who do this sorts of things that Charles has done, they don't really seem to care about that. They just care about what they want. So I just hope for Camilla's sake, this might sound morbid, but I hope that she dies before Charles, basically.
Wait, so how does that work? So she's the queen, but then also William can be the king at the same time.
Yes.
But like he outranks her, right?
Yes.
Okay. So like she's the dowager queen.
Yes.
But she's technically like the queen to the previous monarch.
Yeah.
So she's still like second in command, I guess.
Well, she's not even second.
Like would she be above Kate in this case?
No, she wouldn't.
She'd be below Kate.
Yeah.
Because Kate is the wife of the current monarch.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And also, technically, a queen dowager would be like the king or queen's biological parent. Obviously, Camilla's a step parent. So there's that as well.
So that's interesting. So once the monarch dies, their spouse doesn't become the highest ranking person. It's always their successor.
No, they get demoted. Especially if you're female, you get demoted.
I see.
No.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Because, yeah, okay.
No, like...
Scrotes and sexism.
Yeah. This is part of the reason why there's still this conspiracy theory that the royal families bumped Diana off, because if Diana was still alive, you then have to consider, okay, where does that leave her? Because she would be the mother of the king, right? That's going to fuck up the whole, like, thing, surely. So yeah, so there was that. So they were, like, begging her, and, you know, Harry talks about how Camilla basically moved her dresses into his bedroom.
Oh, no. Oh, man. Disrespect.
I mean, I sort of see it from both sides. Like Clarence's house, where it happened, so that was where Harry had his bedroom, is a massive it's not really a house, it's more like a mansion / palace. That's mini palace. So she could have probably used any other room. But it's also like, you have moved out as well. So, yeah, there was that. The next one was the explosive argument between William and Kate and Harry and Meghan, because Kate got offended that Meghan made a comment about her having baby brain. So I think the story was that Kate was like forgot something, and then like Meghan said offhandedly, "Oh, haha, must be the hormones, baby brain," and Kate got really offended. And William and Kate basically confronted Meghan about it and said, "We don't do this in Britain. Like, that's not appropriate." To the point, and like William was like waving his hand, like basically wagging a finger in quite rudely in Meghan's face, to the point where Meghan was like, "Take your hand out of my face." Good for you, Meghan. Good for you.
Yeah, she's not with the shits, and I'm all the way here for it. Yeah, fuck the monarchy. We don't do that in America. I mean, I feel like every time we talk about this family, I'm like, yeah, I'm glad we don't have to deal with them. We don't have any like permanently installed people in our government, technically, quote, 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 quote. I mean, we do have some people that have probably been in office way too long, you know, decades upon decades, but like in theory, we could get rid of them.
Yeah, basically. I mean, even the Kennedys, like, they're not really a political thing anymore, because I think the last one, who was, I want to say his name was Patrick, in the House of Reps, I think he got voted out. So yeah, he's not a thing anymore. So yeah, but it was just like the way it just seemed like, I don't know, from the book, and I'm not really surprised by this, it just seems like William is very used to getting his own way, and he's quite petty as well. So, you know, Harry also recounts how, you know, when he got married to Meghan...
No! I mean, he's not the picture of patience and respect for others.
So when, like, Harry got married to Meghan, this is ridiculous, right? But, you know, he had his beard, right? He had to get the Queen's permission to keep his beard for the wedding, because he was in uniform. Really, he should have been clean shaven, but he had to make a special request to Granny to keep his beard because, yeah, fuck the monarchy. And so, you know, the Queen...
I just can't even imagine, like, having to ask people to, you know...
To ask your grandmother, can I keep my beard? Hair. Can I keep my beard for my wedding? It's just like you asking, can I wax my legs for my wedding, to your grandmother? But then obviously the Queen says yes, because he had his beard, and William was outraged. So he was like, you must shave. I'm like, and Harry was like, no. But William was like, well, no, because I had to shave. I'm like...
These are stupid problems for stupid people. I'm sorry, but like the more I hear about... Yeah, I see why people are reading this book with sort of like a, yeah, okay, Harry. Because it's like, okay, it sucks, right? And his family's toxic, but...
It's petty.
Yeah, everything here petty. Is like not...
It's petty.
Yeah, it's just not mission critical to experience life. I don't know.
It's petty. It's really, really petty. Like, and I think the book got interesting when he actually met Meghan. That's what's made the royal family interesting. I mean, let's be real. Like, Meghan you know, for good or evil, she's brought something different to the royal family. Like, even her biggest detractors in the British media, they talk about her way more than the royals they actually do like. So the book ends with them talking about their courtship, talking about how he knew she was the one, how she moved over to the UK pretty quickly, basically rehashing the documentary in book form. And he also talks about how she visited Diana's grave again and was kneeling on Diana's gravestone asking for guidance, which again, I just thought,
she's so new. I mean, okay, so like her mom is like a yoga teacher and like real new agey, so that just sounds like an extension of that. Okay, so the thing with Meghan is like what people criticize her for is like that allegedly she's fake or she's like kind of superficial, but I really think that's like who she is. I don't even think it's like her being manipulative the way the media tries to like over portray it. Or, like, the British
not media. At all.
Yeah, I think she like that's her genuinely trying to like emotionally connect. But the people think it's glib because they think it's performative.
But think about that, like before she was in the royal family, nobody had a bad word to say about her. Like, surely if she was this super fake, pretentious bitch, like it would be out there somewhere, but no one had a bad word to say about her. And, you know, people...
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is like, I guess she went to private school and she went to Northwestern and like she's lived kind of like a charmed, privileged girl's life. But I think people expect her to have a little bit more depth than she actually has. So then when she doesn't, people are kind of like, oh, she must be a bitch. But I'm like, I don't think so. I think she's just sort of a bit more surface level than people want her to be for some reason. I don't know. Like, she hasn't really experienced like massive hardship. And I guess her parents' divorce is really difficult for her. But, she more or less like her, I don't say they're wealthy, but like she went to nice schools. Like, she's well groomed. She was in like upper crust, like Hollywood circles before all of the royalty stuff. So she's just, she's just like from a certain class. And so I feel like some of this to me seems like on the American side anyways, like so there's like hardcore Meghan Markle haters on the American side. And they're always like, oh, she's fake. And some of that just seems like class warfare to a certain extent and or like sexism, like just like people feeling like she doesn't respect Here's what actually pisses me off. It's like suddenly the Republicans are like pro-monarchy just because they want to hate on Meghan. And this is where you start to see that like patriarchy and sexism doesn't make sense. I'm like, how are you as an American pro-monarchy? Like, period. And you're supposed to be like the most American loving party and, superior to Democrats who quote unquote hate America. But to me... I'm not saying you have to like love everything Meghan does, but the idea that like she should bow to the like she should completely kowtow to the monarch of another country is fully insane to me as an American, because any other time, if any of our other like ambassadors or anybody did that, they would be like calling for their head.
True.
So
True.
It's just weird. I just feel like they expect her as a woman to be like cowed by the British monarchy, but they would not expect that from a man for sure. If in fact they would see it as weak and.
But they wouldn't even expect it from themselves. Like, I know one of them is like Megyn Kelly, and I'm just like, what do you actually know about the royal family? Probably not a lot to be talking about just like the entire situation. And again, that makes sense. What you've just said. If you're a staunch Republican, believe in the Constitution and all that shit, then why are you pro monarchy? Like, why are you taking the side of the royal family in this?
Mental. They just want to see a woman humbled, especially a woman of color.
Yeah.
Colorish woman.
Yeah. And I think especially because
I know it's controversial because she's kind of white passing, so people who look at her may not necessarily know that she's biracial, but yeah, I mean, some of that's that.
But also Meghan has a lot going for her as well. Like, aside from being a woman of color, she's very attractive to the point where like one time the Daily Mail even wrote an article basically complaining that she looked too attractive next to Kate. She's attractive, she's articulate, she's accomplished.
Because you know what? Okay, and I don't want to do body shaming or body comparison, but Kate always looks really skinny to the point of being starved. Whereas like Meghan, for the most part, like she's thin, but she looks fit, which is totally different. Like sometimes the way that Kate looks, it looks like she looks like she has an eating disorder to me. And it's actually worrisome.
Kate is really, really small, like really, really small.
Really thin. and it doesn't look healthy.
And she's been that way ever since
I feel like she's not that she's like not unattractive and by any means. I think it's just the means by which she tries to stay skinny makes her look like it doesn't make her glow. It makes her look like she's starving herself to stay thin.
Yeah, and it sort of ages her a bit as well and the thing is, she was always on the petite side even before she got married, but it just seemed like after her wedding, she just disappeared. Like, she's been razor thin ever since, like, really. And even Meghan is quite slim, but even when you see the two of them together, there is, like, a clear weight difference, if that makes sense. Like, you see, like, Meghan is already quite petite herself, but Kate is just really, really small. To go back to my original point, I do think part of the vitriol towards Meghan Markle is that she is attractive, she's accomplished, she's articulate, she's clearly intelligent, and she's not really somebody that you can...
There's really nothing to not like about her. You know what I mean? People just want to hate to hate.
Exactly.
And it just feels sexist. They just want to find a reason to say like, oh, she's not all that and she didn't deserve to marry William, or she didn't deserve to marry Harry. But like, everything about Harry is not particularly impressive other than his royal blood.
He's way out of his league.
They feel like her self-esteem's too high, and every time I see people talk about her, it's like they're just trying to knock her down a peg for reasons that don't make sense to me. You think she's, you know what I mean? Like they all feel like she should be knocked down a peg, but it's like, for what? For who? For why? Right?
Yeah. And as we've said before, Harry, even his friends, they know he's not that much of a catch. Like, he's a prince of England, but that's literally it. So... yeah, there was that. And then obviously the explosive fight between William and Harry, where William punches Harry and he falls on the dog bowl, stunned, that his brother Willie did that to Harold. That's their nicknames for each other, over Meghan, like a fight over Meghan as well.
Oh, this is like when they were adults. Whoa.
Yeah, this was like a couple years ago. Yeah.
William just sounds like a bully, right? I mean,
100%.
I feel for him, right? He's just, his family sucks. Everything about this makes me feel, yeah, man, you got a shitty family. They don't treat you well. You're kind of stuck, and they're stuck where they are. You're stuck where you are. But I don't know what to say, because it's like a lot of us have terrible families. And like, fortunately, you're not special.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't like a story. This isn't like A Child Called It or something where the abuse is so compelling that people stop and they're like, oh my God. Like, it's bad, but it's also not like, in the sea of problems, it's hard. It's like, it just gets drowned out, right? I think the most compelling thing is like how he dealt with the loss of his mother, because I feel like that's a pretty unique type of pain. And then the way in which his position affected everything surrounding his mother and his mother's deaths is pretty compelling. But then all this stuff with his like family fights, it's like, as shitty as it is, a lot of families fight.
Yes, exactly. And this is one of the things where, you know, when people talk about purple blood, the royal family, God's representative, divine right of kings, like they're so special, yada, yada, yada. Ultimately, this book drives home the point that they are just any other regular family who have dickheads, who have spats, who have unresolved trauma, who have people who don't speak to each other for years. They are just like any other regular family. And I think that what this book has probably done is that it's really, really driven that point home, in that, because the royal family spend a lot of time crafting their image to make out like they're perfect. Like, look at the way they portray William and Kate, like the perfect married couple, even though you can see the cracks, like, because like no married couple is perfect. Like, it's not this idyllic, you know, two parents and, you know, 3 kids sort of thing. Like, every family has its, I guess, idiosyncrasies. Every family has its issues. And I think this book, and this is something that the royal family really wouldn't want. They wouldn't want people to really, really get to see that they are just like any other family, because once people realize they are any other family, it then becomes, okay, why do we need them then? If they're not these, you know,
yeah, if they're not
these high
special people with special blood,
if they're not special people, then why do we need them? You know, we're literally paying.
I feel like just eyeballing them, you can see that they weren't like divinely gifted with anything, right? just eyeball test that, like, I don't feel like William passes the eyeball test for like some kind of special genetic bloodline that's so much above the rest of us.
I don't get it either, to be honest. And I really, really like the way, like, when they went.
Maybe if he was like particularly handsome.
Well, those days are through.
They're just not hot enough to pull that off. I'm trying to dance around it, but I'm like, if they were much hotter than the way that they are, like, maybe I'd be like, okay, yeah, like, you're 6'5", you've got like beautiful golden skin, you've got.
If they looked like Diana's like nieces, if they look like Diana's nieces and nephew, then I might be like, okay. If you look up the Diana's like nephew Louis, if one of them looked like that, I'd be like, okay, yeah.
We treat them like we treat our Kennedys, right? Like, so the Kennedy, the JFK Jr. was like rakishly handsome. And so we kind of, we have sort of a reverence for them because we live in a very superficial society. And I also feel like that's the same reason why Kate hasn't really resonated in the States either, is because she doesn't really slay any of her looks. Like, she's just very boring and understated. And so all of us collectively are yawning at the monarchy and their special blessed blood, or whatever we're gonna call it.
Yeah,
collective yawn.
I'll never forget that. Was it the Celtics game where they were asking the coach and the players, oh, did you see the Prince and Princess of Wales? They could not give less of a shit. I actually felt sorry for William and Kate. They could not give less of a shit. And it's like, this is the sort of apathy that I think will grow towards the royal family over time, is that, yeah, they're just like any other people. And, this is why this book was just so, it just incensed the royalists, because it's like, yeah, they're like any other family. They're just like us.
Yeah. I feel like in the 24-hour media landscape, like, celebrities are so much more accessible now, so it's not like a big deal to see them or hear from them. And the era of keeping like a stiff upper lip and being sort of segregated from the common people just seems stuffy and obnoxious. I think it's just that the concept of celebrity has changed around the royal family as well.
Yes, definitely.
So there's no mystique anymore. There's no mystery. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they are, like, William and Harry, they're the first generation of royals to grow up in this celebrity era, like you say. Because before, it was easier to keep control of the press. Before you had things like social media, before you had things like, I don't know, people leaking stuff to the press within your office. And, that's another thing that Harry actually says, which is quite sad, actually, is that when Charles and Camilla became public with their relationship, obviously there was a lot of backlash around that. And he alleges or claims that Charles and Camilla's office, they were leaking bad stories about Harry. So all the stories about him taking cocaine, doing drugs, they were leaking those stories deliberately to deflect from their relationship, or the flack their relationship was getting. And they tried to portray Charles as like this woe-betide dad who's struggling with this, coke-addicted son, to try to rehabilitate their images.
He's a scapegoat child in a narcissistic family, and it sucks. None of this.
And the thing is, he would be the best scapegoat.
None of their behavior surprises me, because they have a dynamic that's similar in a lot of families like that.
Yeah.
It's just like it's like legally the way things are for him.
Yeah. Obviously, like, it's, so that was the ultimate theme. And obviously they have their happily ever after in California, where that's where the book ends. And so, it's, would I say it's worth buying? No. If you can, I think there is a bootleg copy floating around the internet.
This wasn't an advertisement for this book, by the way. It was just like, Savannah read it, so the rest of us don't have to.
And it was a requested review. But I would just say, like, if you've watched a Netflix documentary and Harry's interviews, it doesn't really say much more than that, unless you really want to hear about Harry's stints in the army and how the petty stuff, like he was doing coke behind a pub, then you can probably skip it, to be fair. But the thing is, I do feel like he definitely left stuff out, and maybe he's thinking of doing a sequel at some point, because he's very careful not to name the names that he's named. He's very, very careful at the moment. And what's also interesting is that, so Harry is currently in court against a newspaper, I think it's the Daily Mirror, I want to say. The Daily Mirror. So Piers Morgan used to be editor for that, who's Meghan hater-in-chief. And they actually confirmed in the court hearing that they were getting bad stories about Harry doing drugs from Charles and Camilla's office as well.
That's just so...
It's so shitty, isn't it? Really, really shitty. So
yeah. And it's weird. It's weird how that doesn't seem to reflect poorly on Charles in the public eye in the way that it would, like an American president, for example, if we found out like, oh, they're throwing their kids on the bus to deflect from whatever poor decision they made.
Oh yeah, Charles and Camilla have basically like gotten away with it. Like, this is why at the coronation, like if I was Camilla, I'd be smiling like a chess cat as well when I was crowned, because it's like, it's not even about becoming Queen of England, but it's the ultimate redemption arc. Like, I can't think of another mistress.
She got her man.
Well, yeah, she got more than the man, though. She got, she gets the public respect, the public admiration. Like, people have forgotten, she does work in the domestic violence sphere, even though she invited, two people who massively bullied her daughter-in-law to dinner after they've been publicly bullying her for years. And that's all swept under the carpet. It's also about the respect and prestige. And I cannot think of another mistress in history who's had this sort of redemption arc. I can't think of one.
I can't think of a mistress. I mean, I'm trying to think of U.S. presidents. I mean, there's like the Monica Lewinsky. I wouldn't say she's had a redemption arc so much as that people have
it's not on Camilla's,
now been so much more grossed up.
It's not on Camilla's level, though. It's not like a Camilla level redemption arc. It's more like, oh yeah, we threw under the bus, we're really sorry, and it's because we feel bad and we realised that actually you were exploited, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, she was like, it was more like a workplace power dynamic thing once we started about Me Too. But even she doesn't really act like she's a victim in that situation 100%. She did try to fuck him, like, yeah. And she knew he was married, and she wasn't a child, and like obviously like Bill Clinton is way more responsible, and I think his image has been tarnished in the arc of history, and his legacy's been tarnished by that. But nobody felt like. I guess she hasn't, like, people feel like she was clearly being thrown under the bus, and like this was really unfair for Monica Lewinsky and acting like she was the entire problem instead of Bill, and that Bill was just basically, well, of course he's the president, of course he's going to cheat and shit like that. So which is stupid.
So yeah, ultimate review of Spare is, I would say, just catch highlights on the internet, don't bother reading it. Yeah, I sort of read it for research purposes so I could do this episode, so I don't do like nice things for you guys, for you listeners. I've also
don't say we never did nothing for y'all.
I've also actually read 365 DNI, the film. I actually read the book as well for use in a future episode. That was even worse than Spare, and that was even worse than the movies, so maybe I'll rant about that one in a future one.
How can it possibly be worse than the movies? Bad. The movies are so bad.
No, this was like,
for some reason, like, the first movie was tolerable, but the second and third movies, there was so little plot. We didn't even review it because there was nothing to do.
No, the book was bad. Like, I'm trying to think of a worse book that I've read, and I can't think of one. The only redeeming feature was that my partner would like read it out to me in his voice. That was the only bit I liked.
Let's be real, the hotness of the actors is what carried that entire film.
But even that got old after a while, to be honest. By like movies 2 and definitely 3, it got old. So yeah, so maybe that will be a future one, and I can read you extracts of that book, because honestly, bro, it was worse than the film. I didn't think it was possible. But it was, and this is how you know, if the movie's shit, the book will be even shitter, because the book should be better than the film, because there are some things that you can, write about in book that doesn't translate to films. If you look at Lord of the Rings, for example, the movies were epic, but anybody who's read the books will tell you that they don't hold a candle to the books, because some things just you can't bring to screen. So that was my own fault, really. I should have really known. But yeah, if a movie's bad and it has a book with it, the book will be shitter. Trust me. So yeah, that was that. But let's just hope that Spare is never a film, basically.
What's it going to be about? Like him being a dummy for years, and then I don't know, man. I feel like all the compelling characters there's already there's already been a million and one movies and documentaries about the interesting people in that family. So I mean, I can't think of one about Harry that would be compelling to anyone. I guess they would have to make it. You know what? No. They would have to make it like a romantic, they'd have to make it Bridgerton style, like a complete and total like romantic getaway type movie where he meets this beautiful actress and she becomes the love of his life. Okay. They could do it, but it would have to be like a almost historical fiction in the way that they did Queen Charlotte of the Bridgerton series, where they're real characters or real people, but they fictionalize the love story to make it like way more interesting than it probably was, and like compelling and sexy and everything. So, okay. I would listen to the Harry and Meghan story if they fictionalize it via Bridgerton. I would totally watch that because I love Bridgerton.
And that's our bonus content.
See y'all next week.